He never forgot to compliment her outfit, but he barely noticed when I changed my hair. I told myself it was harmless until I saw his screenshots. Photos of her, saved and hidden in a private folder. My stomach dropped. That night, I walked into the room wearing the same dress she wore last week and asked, "Do you like it?" He smirked, "Yeah, it looks good." I pulled out my phone, showed him the screenshot, and whispered, "Funny, because you already liked it on her first." His eyes went wide, and he realized he had just exposed himself. I met Aaron in San Diego 3 years ago. We were both at this barbecue hosted by a mutual friend. He was the guy who always seemed relaxed, like nothing bothered him. That kind of effortless, tanned, coastal confidence. He wore these dumb canvas sneakers with holes in them and had that bedhead blonde hair that somehow worked on him. He came up to me holding a plastic cup and said, "That dress looks amazing on you." I laughed, said thank you, and figured he was just flirting with everyone. But we talked the whole afternoon. He made me laugh. He made me feel seen. We started dating a few weeks later. At first, it was all late-night calls, beach walks, and ramen dates in Carne Mesa. It was easy. He'd tell me I looked beautiful when I wasn't even trying. He remembered the little things I said. Like how I preferred tulips to roses. Or how I hated when people chewed with their mouths open. Stupid little things, but they made me feel like I mattered. Within 6 months, we moved in together. Small place near Balboa Park. 1 bedroom, carpet that never got clean no matter how much we vacuumed, but it was ours. We hung up string lights, used a wine crate as a coffee table, and made the best of it. Things felt real. Grounded. I thought I had found someone solid. But maybe I missed the signs. It started slow. I changed my hair. Cut off like 5 inches, got bangs, went from deep brown to this warm auburn I'd been thinking about for years. I was scared, honestly. It was a big change, and I was hoping he'd notice. Maybe even gush a little. He didn't even blink. Came home, said, "Hey babe," kissed my cheek and walked straight to the fridge. No comment. No reaction. I brought it up later, half joking, like, "So I guess you hate my new hair?" He looked confused. "Oh." I didn't even notice, honestly. "Looks fine." Fine. It stung, but I told myself maybe he was just tired. Or distracted. We all have off days. But then it kept happening. New dress? Yeah, looks good. New lipstick? Nothing. New earrings? Didn't even register. I wasn't looking for him to drool over me. I just wanted to feel seen again. Around that time, he started going to this coffee shop 2 blocks down from our place. Every day. Rain or shine. Even when we had coffee at home. I joked once that he must have a crush on the barista, and he laughed but didn't say anything. Then one day I met her. Tasha. She was tall. Curvy in that dramatic way. Wore dresses with cutouts, backless tops, big earrings, and combat boots. Had long curly hair, kind of wild, like she didn't care if people stared. And they did. Even I did. She was hard not to look at. She had this confident energy. The kind that filled the room. Loud laugh, bright smile. Everything I wasn't. He introduced us casually. Said she was cool, had good music taste, liked the same weird documentaries he did. I smiled. Tried to be friendly. She offered me a free pastry. I took it. It tasted like cinnamon and insecurity. I noticed after that he started complimenting her a lot. She's got great style. She's hilarious. She's just so real, you know? I started to feel like wallpaper. Like I was fading into the background of my own relationship. One night, I wore this green silk dress I had been saving. It hugged my body perfectly and had a slit on the side. We were going out to dinner, and I wanted to feel good. Special. He looked up from his phone, smiled faintly, and said, "Looks good." Then went back to scrolling. No smile. No double take. Nothing. I wanted to cry, but I told myself it was just. I don't know. Maybe people just get too comfortable. That same week, I noticed his iPad lighting up while he was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. It was just there on the counter. Tasha's name popped up. Loved this one. Felt cute. There was a photo attached. I tapped it. It was her. Wearing a burnt orange dress, standing in the mirror. Hair piled on her head, posing with one foot turned in like those influencer girls do. It wasn't scandalous. But it was intimate. He replied with, "Damn. You're unreal." My heart dropped. I felt like I was looking at something I wasn't supposed to see, but also something I needed to see. I took a screenshot. Didn't say anything. Not yet. Later, I went through his iPad. I know. But I had to know more. Found the folder. Hidden under some boring work stuff. Labeled Q3 Utilities. Inside were dozens of screenshots. Photos of Tasha from her Instagram, her stories, maybe even Snapchat, screen-capped mid-moment. Zoomed in shots of her legs, her back, her in various dresses. One of her sitting on the counter at the shop, head thrown back laughing. Not nudes. But not innocent. These weren't saved because of friendship. These were obsessive. Some were named by date. Some had tiny notes in the file names. Like, Tasha_curls_perfect, that res, LOL_ the smile. My face went hot. My body froze. It felt like I had just watched something that made everything I thought I knew collapse in slow motion. My heart was racing, but I didn't cry. I just sat there. I kept staring at the folder like maybe it would explain itself. Like maybe I'd open a file and it'd say, "You misunderstood." But it didn't. It was exactly what it looked like. That night, I didn't say a word. He came home, kissed my cheek, made a sandwich, and watched YouTube videos like nothing was wrong. I barely slept. I kept thinking about all the times he had told me he wasn't the cheating type. All the nights he held me close. The way he used to compliment me. The next evening, I put on the same burned orange dress Tasha wore in that photo. I had seen her in it the week before. I even remembered how Aaron looked at her that day. We were walking past the cafe and she was outside talking to a friend. He glanced at her, smirked a little. I remember the smirk because he didn't even notice I had new earrings on that day. So I put on the dress. Stood in the doorway. He looked up from the couch. The same couch we bought together with our first joint paycheck. He smiled. "Yeah, that's hot," he said, grinning like I was finally doing something right. I took out my phone, pulled up the screenshot, walked over, held it in front of him. "Funny," I said. "Because you already liked it on her first." His face changed instantly. Like someone had turned off the lights in his head. "Amanda," he started. I didn't let him finish. I just walked away. After I showed him the screenshot, he just sat there. Mouth open. Face pale. Eyes locked on my phone screen like it had burned a hole in the universe. He stuttered. I didn't think. It's not what you think." "Of course, it's never what we think." I didn't yell. Didn't cry. I just said, "Tell me what it is, then." He got up, rubbed his face like he was trying to wake himself up, and said, "I never did anything. It was just pictures. Just appreciation. Appreciation." Like she was a damn art piece in a museum. Something he could study, admire, collect. "You saved them," I said. "You labeled them. You organized them like a project. That's not appreciation. That's obsession." He looked ashamed for 1 second. Then defensive. Like the shame was too heavy, so he shoved it onto me. "It's not like I cheated. You're blowing this up. I've never even touched her. She's just a friend." I don't know what kind of friendship requires a secret folder and emoji-filled comments at midnight. I told him I needed space. Took my keys, left the apartment, drove to a Target parking lot, and just sat in my car for almost 2 hours. No music. No calls. Just the buzz of the engine and the sound of my own heartbeat slamming in my ears. I ended up crashing on my friend Celine's couch. She didn't ask questions. Just poured me wine and gave me a blanket. When I went back home the next day to grab some stuff, the apartment was quiet. Aaron wasn't there. But his laptop was still on the table. I don't know what came over me, but I opened it again. I needed to know if there was more. There was. It wasn't just screenshots. There were screen recordings. Of her Instagram stories. Whole videos saved, her walking through her apartment, dancing in the kitchen, talking about her day. He had muted all the sound, probably to avoid detection. Some of the recordings were weeks old. One was from the week I had food poisoning. I had been curled up on the bathroom floor while he sat beside me, holding my hair. And that same night, he was screen recording Tasha talking about a concert. It made me sick. Actually sick. And then I found the worst part. There was a draft folder in his Gmail. Never sent emails. Typed out. Sitting there like digital landmines. One was titled, "You're amazing." It was to Tasha. "You have no idea how much I look forward to seeing you every day. You make the whole morning worth it. I wish I had met you before. I wish I could." It stopped there. There were 6 more. All variations of the same thing. Rambling, poetic, thirsty. All unsent. All sitting in the dark, waiting. I didn't take screenshots this time. I didn't need to. The images were carved into my brain. When I confronted him later, he tried to deny it at first. Then he tried to blame me. "You've been distant for months. You don't dress up anymore. You've been cold." I almost laughed. I changed my hair. Bought new clothes. Tried harder. And every single time, he didn't notice. Or worse, noticed but didn't care. Meanwhile, he was spending hours watching a barista's Instagram reels in silence like it was some kind of religion. I asked him point blank, "Do you love her?" He didn't answer. That silence was louder than any confession. And here's the twist I didn't expect. Tasha messaged me. I don't know how she got my number, maybe from Aaron's phone, maybe through a mutual, I don't care. She said, "Hey. I don't want to make things worse, but I didn't know. He told me you two were basically over." Basically over. She said he told her I was barely home, that we were roommates at this point. She said she didn't flirt, but he pushed boundaries, complimented her constantly, made little comments that made her uncomfortable but also confused. Told her she was exactly his type. She apologized. Said she was sorry if she was part of the reason things fell apart. I didn't even know how to respond. Because here I was, thinking it was just pictures. Just a folder. Just a secret. But it wasn't. He'd been laying the groundwork for something. Maybe not cheating yet, but definitely the map to get there. He had emotionally left a long time ago. I told Tasha I appreciated her honesty. That it wasn't her fault. She owed me nothing, but she still reached out. That meant more than anything Aaron had done in months. Later that night, I came home and found Aaron sitting on the floor, back against the couch, looking wrecked. I f'd up, he said. I got in too deep. I didn't mean for it to happen. He looked like a kid who broke something he couldn't fix. Waiting for forgiveness like it was a guarantee. I didn't give him anything. I didn't scream. I just stared at him, cold and tired, and said, "You liked watching her. You liked dreaming about her. But I was real. I was here. And you couldn't even look at me." Then I walked past him, into our room, and started packing. I don't know what happens next. I haven't told my parents yet. I haven't decided if I'm breaking the lease. I'm just floating, numb. I feel like a house someone moved out of, but the lights are still on. If you're still reading, thank you. I don't have an ending yet. Because this isn't over. After that night, the night I packed my things in silence, I stayed with Celine again. I thought I had seen it all. The folder, the recordings, the drafts. Tasha's message. The twisted knot of lies that was my relationship with Aaron. I thought the rest would just be recovery. Grieving. Untangling myself from him and everything he made me believe. But apparently, the betrayal had layers I hadn't even uncovered yet. So here's what happened. 3 days after I left, I got a text from one of Aaron's friends. We'll call him Marcus. We were never super close, but we'd gone on a few double dates. He always struck me as one of those guys who quietly watches everything and says nothing. His message said, "I don't know if I should be telling you this, but you deserve to know. He's not who you think he is. Look at this." Attached were screenshots. They were from a private Instagram account. The username was vague. Something like @_coffee curls. It was Tasha's Finsta. But it wasn't hers. Marcus said it was Aaron's. He'd made a fake account just to watch her stories when she blocked him from her personal after he made her uncomfortable. I didn't understand at first. Why would she block him? She messaged me. She said he never crossed a line. But when I asked Marcus, he said Tasha had gone to their mutual friend, one of the baristas, and told him Aaron was making her uncomfortable. Complimenting her too much. Lingering too long. Texting her memes late at night, acting like it was harmless. After she brought it up, Aaron showed up at the cafe less and less. Apparently to give her space. But that was around the time I noticed he was using his phone in the bathroom more. The time he stopped touching me, but still held me like a possession in public. He made a fake account. Kept watching her. Saving posts. Like some kind of digital ghost clinging to her shadow. And it gets worse. I checked the account myself. Marcus still had the login. There were messages in the DMs. Not sent, just typed out, like drafts he never pulled the trigger on. One of them said, "I think about you every morning. I still walk by hoping I'll see you." Another, "She doesn't get me. Not like you do." That one crushed me. Because that was the version of him I fell in love with, the one who wanted to be understood. The one who used to say I was the only person who got him. Now he was just copy-pasting that sentiment onto someone else who never even wanted it. I confronted him. Again. I know I shouldn't have. But I needed to look him in the eye when I asked, "Did you make a fake account to watch her after she blocked you?" He didn't answer at first. Just blinked. Then ran a hand through his hair like that would somehow erase the question. Finally, he said, "I just wanted to know if she was okay. After everything." That excuse. That bullshit empathy star. Like he was the victim. Like he was some misunderstood guy just trying to care. "You're not watching her to check in," I said. "You're watching her because you don't know how to let go of the fantasy." He didn't deny it. Didn't apologize either. He just sat there. Same couch. Same pathetic look on his face like he expected me to tell him what to do next. I walked out again. This time I blocked his number. I blocked his mom too. She texted me the next day saying she never liked Tasha, and maybe I shouldn't have gone through his laptop. Like this whole thing was somehow my fault for finding the truth. And then Tasha messaged me again. She said she saw the fake account views on her story. Recognized the pattern. Found out through mutuals that Aaron was asking about her. Again. She told me she was going to the police. Not to file charges, but to file a report. Just in case. Because it wasn't just creepy anymore. It felt like stalking. That hit me harder than anything. Because for so long, I thought I was the one who wasn't enough. Not fun enough. Not bold enough. Not sexy enough. But it was never about me. It was about control. About a man who liked the idea of women, but couldn't actually handle real ones. He wanted someone to watch. To admire. To fantasize about from a distance. Because up close? It's work. It's vulnerability. It's partnership. And Aaron didn't want a partner. He wanted a mirror. Someone who'd reflect back whatever he projected. I've since found out he followed 2 more women from that fake account. Women we both knew. Women who never gave him more than a polite smile. And now I'm starting to wonder how far back this goes. How long I was living beside a stranger wearing my boyfriend's face. No ending yet. Just more unraveling. If you're still here, thank you. I feel like every post I write peels another layer off this lie. And I'm still digging. A week after the fake account stuff came out, I thought that was the end. I had blocked him. Tasha had gone to the police to report it. I'd moved into a short-term rental with a girl from Celine's yoga class. I was keeping to myself. Healing maybe. Or trying. But then he showed up. At my work. I was in the back, finishing a report, when a coworker walked in and said, "There's a guy asking for you out front. Kinda looks like a lost dog." I knew it was him. I stepped out, and there he was, standing in the lobby, hands in pockets, wearing the same hoodie I used to steal when I was cold. His eyes were red. Not from crying. From lack of sleep. Stress. Whatever demons were eating at him. I pulled him aside, out to the parking lot. "You shouldn't be here," I said. He nodded. Looked down. Then back up at me. "I need to talk. Please." I didn't answer. I just stared. So he kept going. "I'm sorry. I messed everything up. I didn't realize how far I had gone until I saw your face that night. And when you left, it was like the world collapsed." There it was. The confession. The begging. "I didn't want to cheat," he said. I don't know what's wrong with me. I liked the attention. I liked being wanted. I could feel the anger bubbling up, but I didn't explode. I just said, "You were wanted. I wanted you. Every day. But you wanted something else, someone who didn't know the real you. Someone who couldn't see the ugly parts." He was quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You saw the real me. That's why I pulled away. You looked at me like you knew me. Like I couldn't pretend anymore." I think that was the moment I finally let go. Because what he wanted was to keep pretending. He didn't want a relationship. He wanted an escape. A projection. A fantasy that never asked him to grow. I told him to leave. He didn't fight it. Just said, "I'll always love you." I didn't say it back. That night, I got a call from his mom. I almost didn't pick up. But I did. She said, "He told me everything." And I'm not calling to defend him. I'm calling because I want to say I'm sorry. I blamed you. I judged you. And now I see. I didn't know my son. I didn't know what to say. So I just said, "Thank you." Because it was more honesty than I'd gotten from Aaron in months. A few days later, there was a party. Celine's birthday. A big one, her 30th. All of our mutual friends were there. And Tasha came. We hadn't spoken in person since the messages. Just short DMs. But when she saw me, she walked straight over. No fear. No tension. She hugged me. And I hugged her back. Because none of this was her fault. She was just a person trying to do her job while a man slowly chipped away at her boundaries. We talked for a while. She told me she quit the cafe. Started working at a nonprofit downtown. Said she was still a little paranoid when posting on Instagram, but she was healing too. Then she said something I wasn't ready for. "I thought you hated me." I looked her dead in the eye. "I envied you. But I never hated you. I hated that he turned you into this golden standard and left me in the dark. I hated that I let myself feel small next to you. But it was never you." She nodded. We both stood there quiet. Then she whispered, "We were both just mirrors. He only liked what he saw in his reflection." That was it. That was the final click. It wasn't a firestorm. It was a slow burn. No screaming matches. No thrown objects. Just 1,000 tiny cuts finally bleeding out. I cried in the shower. I journaled at 3 a.m. I stared at the ceiling fan until it blurred into nothing. But then, I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Because I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't the problem. I was just there, showing up, every day for someone who had already emotionally checked out. And the truth? He was never fully in it. Even when we were good, he was half present. Half invested. Saving pieces of himself for other people. Other fantasies. Other versions of himself that he liked better. We haven't spoken since that day in the parking lot. He sent a letter. A long, handwritten thing about his childhood, his fears, his regrets. I read it once and then folded it into a drawer. Not because I forgive him, but because I don't need answers anymore. He's not part of the story I'm building now. Sometimes, the deepest betrayal doesn't come from cheating. It comes from being invisible in a room where you've laid your whole soul bare. It comes from being the real one while they chase shadows. It comes from hearing, "You look good," after weeks of being ignored, and realizing they said it more often to a stranger in pixels than to the person in front of them. I started therapy. I got a new job. A haircut. A tattoo. I smile when I want to. I wear the burnt orange dress again, not because of him, but because I look damn good in it. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. You're just finally noticing they stopped showing up, and that's not on you. I'm not whole yet, but I'm not shattered either. I'm in pieces, and some of them are beautiful.